You know, Jason, there's a few people out there, probably on this very website, who I feel really sorry for this week. Yes, there's like a handful of people out there that just really don't like Grand Theft Auto and anything to do with Grand Theft Auto.
Tough shit, suckers. Get with it.
Yeah, because I mean, even here doing the podcast, I was this close. I was this close this week to just being like. In fact, I even said to you yesterday, forget it. We won't. You know, we're not even going to do a podcast this week because I need to play Grand Theft Auto a lot. Like, surely there could be just one week where you're like, I have to play the game. It's my job. I have to play the game. I can't do the podcast.
Who listens to these anyway?
I don't know. Bunch of people, bunch of human beings out there. Well, you know what? We've got some news today. We've got some emails, and hey, welcome everybody. This is Rage Select, and I am Jeff.
I'm Jason.
It's Jason. On it's only been it's only had 1 week off. I feel like you're just doing all the podcasts these days, Jason.
Fucking Kevin's cutting into my GTA time. That's why he couldn't be on the podcast.
Yeah, he said a bunch of stuff when I hit him up, and I was like, "Hey, you want to do a pie?" No, I got to go to Burundi, and then I've got to do this international arms deal, and blah. I'm pretty sure it was all code for GTA, or just stuff he was doing in GTA.
Yeah, exactly.
I didn't know the map was that big. I didn't actually see Burundi on there when I was looking at it, but I mean, at this point, who could say?
I realized earlier that, wow, everything is still all shadowed.
Yep.
I've just unlocked this tiny little portion of the area.
Yep. Yeah. And oh my God, that game's so big. But you know what? I don't want to spend this entire time talking about Grand Theft Auto 5 because that's going to be one of our news stories. But
you want to talk about Trevor being our Secretary of Defense?
Should we start making bumper stickers that just say "Vote Trevor"? We could sell.
I believe in Trevor.
The Rage Slay store. I believe it. Or make the Obama picture of Trevor and put change down at the bottom. Or I don't know, what would you put at the bottom? Meth.
Yeah.
But you know what? Before we get started into the new stuff, I have we're recording this a little bit later today, and I wanted to tell you, Jason, I had an interesting experience today. I engaged in my first
sexual congress with your left hand.
That's right. It's like a whole other person. You close your eyes. It's a stranger in the room.
You lay down on your hand. You make your hand go to sleep. You pour beer on it so you can get your date drunk.
That's right.
Yep. Congratulations.
We made out a little bit first, though. It was a little weird afterwards.
That's odd.
Yeah, I gave my left hand cab fare. I was like, "No, baby, it's cool." No, I engaged in my first parliamentary quorum. Like I had to go to this thing, and what the thing is, I'm not going to talk about it because one, it's dull, and two, I don't know if I can talk about it or not. But have you ever been to a thing where you had to be like, secretary makes a motion for let's open discussions of this, and everybody's like, I second the motion, and they're all in favor, aye, and like somebody's there taking minutes and shit, and it was weird, man. I felt like in this particular day and age, I felt like I was in like a TV show or something. I mean, have you ever done that before, Jason? Have you ever been to a thing?
Yeah, I don't remember what it was for. It was a long time ago. It was probably some grade school bullshit. But why were you there?
Well, like I said,
were you creeping PTA meetings again?
No, there was this city ballot to use hipsters as fuel for smart cars, and I decided that it's my patriotic duty, my civic duty, to show up and cast my vote accordingly.
I am really unhappy that you did not call me.
Yeah. Well,
I could have made a powerful argument for that, mostly involving a machete.
This is Austin, Jason. Everything in this town is like, it's invite only. You got to go to the website and sign up. You got to know somebody, and they take you to the shack, and they put a blindfold on you, and they drive you out to the country, and you might get killed, you might get molested, and you might get mulched up, but you also might be able to take part in the democratic process. No, it was a thing for the school that I went to do animation, and I was helping them out with something, but but it was just weird. I've never done that before. Like, we couldn't all just go like, well, do you want to do it? And everybody just be like, yeah, man, that shit sounds cool. It was like, we kind of all agreed, and then they had to say, okay, now the chair has to say, I would like to pass a motion to make a vote on this thing, because we were all just like, well, no, it's cool, man. Let's just do it or whatever. but it had to be like on record and shit, and it was kind of strange. So, but
You're like, formality. What is? Were you drunk?
No, I had to come back and do this. I've been sleeping like 2 hours a night playing Grand Theft Auto. If I got drunk, I would have just fallen asleep in the middle. I would have missed my chance to take a vote. So,
Would the delegate from Skid Row please stand? He's unconscious.
who's that?
What? What is it, Franklin? What?
I've been thinking that it's kind of a shame that by default Trevor Phillips doesn't have any facial hair, because I kind of, I'm losing my hair. I could probably find somebody to get me the hillbilly balding special like Trevor has. But then I don't know, man. That Trevor guy, like I keep saying we're not going to talk all about this, but like he's maybe even a little much from time to time. Like he's one of those guys. He's kind of reminds me of like the Joker. In that
Yeah.
he's insane and he's funny and like he seems kind of cool, but like I would never want to be around that guy in real life because
Oh no, I don't even want to be in the same state as somebody like that.
Well, I tell you what, before we get to the news, one last thing. I wanted to just talk to you real fast because, we usually start these things out, do just a little bit of catching up or whatnot. And I just wanted to ask you, you're going to Fantastic Fest later this week.
Yeah, on Monday. So we'll see.
Yeah. Are you going to try to, it's funny, Fungus Monkey, I was talking with him today and he told me, yeah, it's going to be my birthday. We're going to go out and do some drinking. And I was like, how dare you? How dare you have your birthday on the weekend when Grand Theft Auto is out? I was going to stay home and not shower and play Grand Theft Auto in a pool of my own filth. And now I got to go out, buy people beers, and look at humans.
You need to tell him happy birthday for me.
Yeah.
Because I won't be there.
Because Jason just don't give a fuck.
Damn right. Thanks, Fungus Monkey. Happy birthday. I'm busy.
Yeah. So no, but I've been curious to know. I mean, last year it sounded like Fantastic Fest. I mean, you had some stories from last year's Fantastic Fest about some insanity. What's your forecast? What's your prediction? Do you think it's going to get as nutty this year?
I don't know. I don't know. It was really strange seeing Michael Fassbender up on stage, hammered, singing "Anarchy in the UK." Mm-hmm. Maybe I can't think of what. I mean, right now they're having the opening night party, which is machete themed.
Ah, okay.
Which that first movie was stupid. That was the one where I really realized, oh, Robert Rodriguez, I get it now. White people are evil.
I thought that when there's that one, it may be the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen in a movie, where the lowrider truck or whatever on the hydros bounces up and then crushes a guy, like literally just comes down. And then I think that was even the point in the movie where they had the Wilhelm scream when that guy got crushed.
Yeah.
I did appreciate though pulling the guy's guts out and rappelling down the building with that. That was kind of 80s ludicrous in a way that I enjoyed.
I don't know. These things are just a little too damn silly for me.
Yeah? Is that?
Yeah.
Oh, God. Did you just say that, Jason?
I did. It's, in a video game, it's one thing. When I'm watching a movie, I don't know. It depends on the tone. And I don't know. I just watched Machete and I was like, yeah, this is dumb.
I mean, this
is real fucking dumb.
Last year, wasn't the movie that you wouldn't shut up about from Fantastic Fest Miami Connection?
Oh, yeah. So I sound like a big hypocrite right now. That's a good point. Miami Connection was the tits.
But Miami Connection, I don't know. Machete seemed like it was all right when people weren't talking. Like when they were just blowing shit up, I kind of liked that. But
yeah.
Then they decided to have this story, and it was just like, ugh. Blah. But no, I mean, do you already have a schedule for it? Like, is there anything in particular that you're really looking forward to see?
I really want to see the Cabal cut of Nightbreed. So the story goes, okay, Clive Barker wrote a short story called Cabal. It's not very good, but it's interesting. This was back in the 80s.
Okay.
And in, I want to say, like 89, 90, they made an adaptation of it that Clive Barker directed called Nightbreed. And it was supposed to be like the Star Wars of monster movies.
Mm-hmm.
And
I remember that movie. It was weird.
It was very weird. and it wasn't great, but I liked it. And it got chopped up all to hell. They cut out like 45 minutes of it or something like that.
What? Wow.
Yeah. And so when you watch the movie, it's a little incoherent. It's like, wait, what? But and Clive Barker, he had talked about it, and he said, yeah, there's another 45 minutes. And he's like, I don't know where it is. You'll probably never get to see it. And then, behind a filing cabinet, someone found a VHS copy of some of the extra footage.
Wow.
And so they cut the footage into what they call the Cabal cut. Mm-hmm. And they're showing that at Fantastic Fest.
It's weird. I always wonder. I mean, like, when you talk about old stuff like in the 40s or 50s or whatever, I can kind of understand that. But, like, I still don't understand from time to time when you hear these stories, just like you talked about, where you have a movie that was made in, like, the 80s or something. And they're like, and we don't know where the rest of the footage is. And I'm just like, how the fuck does that happen?
I know, right? At 45 minutes of major release footage, that's a hell of a lot of money.
Right. I mean, I've got pencil tests from my first animation class that are garbage, but I ain't throwing them away. I mean, it's just, I guess back in those days, you were still storing canisters of film, so, somebody was storing it, and then the lease comes up in the warehouse, and they're like, we're never going to need that.
Thing. Yeah. And that was never released. And so, there's only a couple of them floating about. And then, that stuff happens all the time. Over the last couple of days, I found myself, I found out about it like last Friday, that before The Empire Strikes Back, on certain prints in Australia and Europe, there was a short film produced by Lucasfilm called Black Angel.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, you told me about this.
Yeah. And so I went through the roof going, how did I never know about this? And it was lost because there was physical copies of it, and then they returned them to this to the storage unit. The storage unit went bankrupt. They shut it down, and they just threw everything away.
Yeah.
I mean, that happens.
Yeah.
Like, that happens a lot where they just throw film away. Like, there was a dump truck that the Alamo Drafthouse rescued. They were going to dump a bunch of footage into the ocean.
Why in the ocean?
Yeah. I don't know.
Why in the ocean?
Yeah. But they lost this film for 30 years, and then recently it turned up again. And so I'm freaking out going, lost Star Wars movie. Well, it turns out it's not about Star Wars at all. It's just produced by Lucasfilm. And so I'm still curious. I still want to see it, but it wasn't like, okay, they're showing it at this festival in California on this weekend.
Right.
How can I scrape up the money to get to California to go to this film festival? I was freaking out. And I was just like, how did this happen? It's like I found out I had another floor on my house
that
I didn't know about.
Yeah. That actually reminds me of, we talk about like dumping stuff into the ocean. There's a whole series, this other guy online who does this channel called SF Debris did on like Doctor Who. So, like back at the old Doctor Who's, there are huge chunks of Doctor Who that are just gone.
Oh, yeah.
Because, early on in those days, like, they didn't really have an archival procedure set up. You'd put it on TV, and you'd be like, nobody's going to want to watch this fucking show about the old guy in the box going to dinosaur land. Fuck it. But then it's weird because there's even a part of that story where later on, it's like the BBC was outsourcing this other place to store prints. And I'm pretty sure that I heard that there's one part of the story where they were destroying prints and that the BBC told them to stop. And they basically, it was essentially the equivalent of like, you're not the boss of us. We'll do whatever the fuck we want to. And they kept destroying shit.
That's horrible.
Yeah. It turns out like it's a really fascinating thing if you guys ever want to look it up, especially this SF Debris guy is like a 7-part series talking about it, where like the biggest way that they found these things is that they used to send physical copies of them to like South America for broadcast or like the Middle East or other places besides Britain to show Doctor Who on the air. And they would say, like, okay, here's your copy, show it on the air. When you get done, destroy it. And then these little TV stations or whatever, they just be like, well, just fucking throw it in the basement. We don't give a shit. And then, 20 years later, somebody's cleaning out the backside of some basement in Venezuela, and they find like 5 episodes of Doctor Who that nobody has seen since they were originally aired on TV.
Oh, yeah. Well, you heard, like, back in 2009 when they found that Dalek in that swamp.
No.
Yeah.
What?
There was a pond, this goopy, nasty pond, like out in the middle of nowhere in the UK, and these volunteers were enlisted to clear trash out of it and stuff. And they found like an old table football game and a skateboard, according to the article.
Right.
And then they're like, "Oh, what's this? It's a Dalek."
If I was in a lake or something and I saw a Dalek, I'd be like, "Oh fuck, get out of here, man! Get out of here!"
Yeah.
That thing is just waiting to kill us all.
Yeah, it was a prop that someone had just cast aside.
Who just I'm such a child of like the late 80s and mid 90s when it was all Earth Day and environmentalism. I'm like, oh, you just dump shit in a lake? You just throw it in the lake. Yeah, who cares? Just fucking throw it in the lake. Like, it just seems so weird to me that people would ever do that.
Yeah.
But
It's
that's
a little
what we
strange. It's like, can you imagine like finding, like, I don't know, C-3PO or something?
Yeah.
Or like a Millennium Falcon prop or something like that, something huge like that. Or
the Batmobile, just the bottom of a lake. I love the mental image of them just like at the end of the old Adam West Batman. They're like, well, what are we going to do with the Batmobile? I'm like, I don't know. Just fucking go push it in a lake somewhere. I don't give a shit.
Yeah, like in Psycho. Just put a body in there, push it to the end of the lake. It'll be fine.
No, it's fine. No, but we should totally start a new reality TV show where you and I drive across the United States and we'll just go to the bottom of lakes and see what we can find there. We'll call it Lake
Hunters.
Lake Hunters. Yes, that's perfect.
Well, they had a guy. Remember when what was it? Planet Hollywood was a big thing.
Mm-hmm.
And they would always have those props in there and everything, right?
Yeah.
Well, they had a guy whose job it was to go around and try to recover these. Well, they managed to locate the axe from The Shining.
Okay.
And it was a guy who had worked on The Shining, and they tracked him down, and they're like, "Hey, I hear you have the axe that was used in the movie." He's like, "Oh yeah, it's out back in my storage shed." I'm like, "What do you do with it?" He's like, "I chop wood with it." And they're like, "We'll pay you for this." He's like, "No, just give me a new axe." So
I'll trade you. I just don't want to go to the store and get an axe, man. Don't take my axe.
Yeah. It's like, dude, I
fu-
will give you 10 axes if you give that to me.
It's funny to even think about, in some of the interactions that we've had with fans, the sorts of things that, even like you and I would probably be like, no, fuck it, man, just throw it away. I don't give a shit. Where other people would be like, oh, I really want that. So I don't know. Maybe if you're the guy who had to carry that axe around all through the shoot of The Shining, at the end, you're just like, I'm keeping this axe. It's my motherfucking axe now, bitch. Well, that is going to do it. So I say let's go ahead and kick off the news, because the faster we get done with this podcast, the faster both you and I can get back to playing Grand Theft Auto. So
yeah, let's wrap it up.
All right, that's the podcast, everybody. No, our first story is one that it's really the only story, and this is going to be the last GTA 5 thing for a while, but Jason, Grand Theft Auto 5 apparently made $800 million in the first day that it was out, according to Rockstar, and I don't know if that's...
That guy that emailed us that last show that I was on.
Yeah, I don't want to hammer on that guy too much.
I do.
I mean, that's the first day. That's fucking ridiculous, man.
Yeah. Oh, it wasn't just a success.
Yeah.
It made 5 times its budget back in the first day.
Yeah, well, at 170, it's probably about 4 and change, depending on how much advertising they did. But what's more notable is that I was reading one story, and I don't have it up in front of me, so I can't check this for sure. So, there's a few of you guys who love to tell me why I'm wrong in the comments. So if I'm wrong, let me know. But I had read a story that said the last day one kind of record was Call of Duty, and that it was something like 550 million on the first day. So, I mean, this is just this is the new king. And
it's the new bar.
Yeah, it's funny that I was thinking about how, there's been some talk online in a few different places about people who are like, I've even seen on our own website, there have been people who've been commenting. I'm not ragging on these people. I just want to point this out, as people are like, it's just another Grand Theft Auto game. And I'm like, if Grand Theft Auto sells like this, why the fuck would you just make another Grand Theft Auto game?
Yeah.
Why dick with it if it's going to break sale? I mean, I guess they didn't know before it released, obviously, but seriously, just why would you even mess with the formula with a franchise that has the potential to make this amount of crazy bank.
If it ain't broke.
Yeah. I'm curious to know, my big curiosity for this, though, is going to be how steep of a drop-off there is. Because, even if you say it made $800 million on day one, and in the entire rest of the first month after it was out, that sales number dropped by half, that would still be $1.2 billion in the first month.
Maybe they can't sell anymore because everyone already has it. I mean, there are only so many PS3s and Xboxes out there,
Yeah, that's true. It's very true. But I mean, you got to figure this can't be. I don't know. Is this going to be the one? Is this just the one that everybody has to go out and buy a copy of it? I mean, I guess, like I said, there's some people out there that I've seen that are just like, I don't want it. But yeah, that's like, how much did Avengers make in its opening weekend, Jason? Was it? It
was probably pretty big.
I think it was. It
wasn't that much.
It was less than this, though, right? It was more like in the 500 million or something like that.
Yeah, it was less. And plus, you got to think that it was less, but also it was much cheaper.
You think so?
No. Like a ticket. A ticket to the Avengers is much cheaper than buying a copy of GTA.
Okay. Yeah, I got you now. I'm trying to find if I can see where the release, reception, no, box office, blah 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 blah. Tracking suggests the film could make yada yada yada. Further tracking. Okay, the Avengers grossed $623 million in North America and $888,400,000 in other countries for a worldwide total of about 1.5 billion. Let me make sure that's right. This is a bit 100 billion billion. Yeah, 1.5 billion. So, damn, man, like shit. Also, this makes that story that we read about how much Saints Row 4 made kind of be like, yeah.
It's like, yeah, whatever.
Yeah, I mean, like, I like Saints Row 4 and everything, and that game made a really good return for their investment, but, shit. Like,
man, it after the hours that I've spent already in Los Santos, Saints Row 4 seems like something that happened like 3 or 4 years ago.
Yeah, it's you know what? The smartest thing that they did was pushing that thing out before Grand Theft Auto came out. We see this all the time with like really, really bad kind of release timing, but that was great because it's like people were getting caught up in the open world hype and you were able to put this thing out. People were going to like it. Because can you imagine like what would have happened to Volition if they would have launched, this week? If they thought they had the nuts to try to launch against Grand Theft Auto 5, like, oh, it just would have been sad. I don't know.
Yeah, that would have been. That's you brought a ping pong paddle to a gunfight.
Well, our next story is, not to be outdone. This is not something that we've talked about very often, but Disney Infinity. Do you know what Disney Infinity is, Jason?
Yeah, I played it at E3.
Okay. Disney Infinity sold 294,000 copies in August, which I know
from ripping off Skylanders.
Yep, and let's see. They say now I can't tell whether this is two different things, but let's see. If I know that Disney Infinity, it's more than $60 at launch, but if they were just $60 games, 294,000 copies is what is that? 1, 2, 3, 17 million. Like, and this says, but then there's a second part here that says the accessories section of the NPD's totals hit 136.7 million for August, combined with sales of Skylanders accessories. 1 in every 3 accessories sold this month was an interactive gaming toy. Oh. So. Yeah, I got a friend of mine who is really big into Disney Infinity that I wanted to try to bring on here to do a review. And it's funny because I was talking with him, and he's had a Wii for a long time.
Yeah.
And he doesn't really play that many video games. He mostly got it because of Epic Mickey, because he's a big Disney fan.
I don't know. He sounds really creepy.
Yeah.
Do I know this guy?
Yeah, I think you've met him before. I can't tell. But it's funny because he got this, and then what was it? He had some reasoning, but recently he went out and he decided to get he got a Wii for Epic Mickey and Epic Mickey 2, and then he bought Disney Infinity on the Wii, and he was playing it, whatever. And he just went out, like last week, and bought a PlayStation 3 to do more Disney Infinity stuff on the PlayStation 3. So this is the first time he's had a modern game console hooked up, because he had a Wii before, and he was just like, it looks so much better. And I'm like, yeah, man, I've been trying to tell you that for a while. Like, 1080p is awesome, right?
It's like you had these crackers around, and I've been telling you, nachos are where it's at.
That's right. Throw some cheese on that bitch, man. But, you know, I've said this before on the podcast, but in some ways, I really envy that guy. I really envy anybody who has managed to not get on board this train yet, who gets to still have that first experience of going, oh my
man.
God.
It's like that movie of Brendan Fraser living in that bunker.
Oh, yeah. With
Out of the Past?
was that Blast from the Past?
Blast from the Past.
His dad was Walken, right? The Christopher Walken dad?
I don't know. I didn't watch it, but
He drank warm Dr. Pepper, I think, or whatever.
yeah. He comes out and he's like, what's with all... Oh, my God, this Atari 5200 looks amazing compared to the 2600.
Yeah. But
And then they see the shit from the Xbox One and their brains start leaking out of their noses.
Yeah. But you know what? I think just to put a cap on this, I think that I'm glad that this has worked out for Disney, because I'd like for Disney to quit creating game studios and then firing everybody from them when they get done with whatever project, because they don't know how to market it or create a game effectively. So, you know, I just wonder who's going to... Right now, it's like the Sharks and the Jets between Disney Infinity and fucking Skylanders. I know Skylanders is way out in front right now, but, like, Disney's some potent shit, man. I wouldn't bet against them. Like,
yeah, they've got some pretty good IPs. They've made some decent movies, and they've got some stuff like this. They just bought one that's supposed to be pretty good. This Star Wars.
Yeah, yeah. It's all about racing and bears or something. Bears and swords, laser swords or something.
That sounds awesome when you put it like that.
I would. The next Star Wars, I'm calling it now, people. The next Star Wars movie is all about a bear Jedi that pod races. That's the entirety of Episode 8.
Oh God, that sounds amazing.
Episode 7.
You should write it.
I'm going to.
And
Fan
yes,
fiction.
it's Episode 7.
Fan fiction. Erotic. It's also very erotic.
Oh, we're gonna put Charles St. Charles on that.
That's right. I'm going to need Charles St. Charles to do a little script doctrine for me for Episode 7.
He can put the sex in it.
Oh man! All right. Well, let's keep this train moving.
For those of you who don't know who Charles St. Charles is,
oh yeah,
if you donate to our Patreon, we have a new video one that we tried out. It went all right. We had this guy on named Charles St. Charles. He read some naughtiness. He read some fan fiction about Mario and Luigi. People seem to like it. They think they want more of Mr. St. Charles. But yeah, so if you want to be introduced to Charles St. Charles, and why wouldn't you? You can
I could
contribute.
think of like 4 reasons already.
I could think of a few.
I mean,
I wish I never met him.
I had to edit that video, and I kept like it was weird. It was like watching it was like looking at a horrible accident, right? So at first you're just sitting there and you're just like, oh my God, this is actually happening. But then there's a certain point where your brain is like poking you on the side of the head going, this is really gross and wrong, and you shouldn't be watching it anymore. And I was just like,
yeah, so. There was some of it where I think it really struck a nerve with some people, because it's just so gross.
You remember back in the old days, I had a mission that I wanted to make somebody rage puke. Like I wanted to piss somebody off so much that they actually threw up. I think that Charles St. Charles may beat me to that goal, except not from rage. It's not going to be out of rage.
Here are some of the comments. How do I even respond? Oh my gosh. This guy is disgusting. Mm-hmm. If this is wrong, I don't want to be right. Is it hot in here, or is it just me? Let's see. The horror. The worst thing I've ever experienced in my entire life.
There you go.
It's like 10 minutes long. Somebody said I had to tap out at 5 minutes. Yeah, so my God, guys, that's a glorious new low. So yeah, Charles St. Charles, if you want to know what that hotness is all about, contribute to our Patreon. We would appreciate it, and you get something out of it.
You just might find out what true horror really is.
You might get a disease.
All right, so our next news story is one. I'm pretty sure we didn't talk about this. We might have mentioned it in passing, but I thought it would make for some interesting conversation. I wanted to bring it up with you, Jason. As of March 18th of next year, 2014, the Diablo 3 auction house is closed.
Yeah. Fine.
Which I actually went and looked... I went and did a little bit more digging. There's been a few people up my ass about, like, do you know what you're talking about? So I went and did a little digging to kind of find out. Because, I mean, I had heard kind of various reports about some people are upset about the auction house, some people are not upset about the auction house or whatever. But I want to find out why it closed.
Yeah.
And it's interesting. It's actually one of these cases where you can, you have a video game story that's about something, and it's not like, well, we got sued or blah, 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 blah. It's that apparently Blizzard and some of the head designers there were like, when we created the Diablo 3 auction house, we wanted it to be basically a way for people to facilitate transactions between them without having to go through eBay or do any kind of weird shit or possibly get ripped off by somebody, or whatever. But they found that people, and they expected a very small number of people to use it. It turns out a lot of people use it. And that it seems like, to me, at least the reason that I can see, the reason they're closing it is because they feel like it's essentially broken Diablo. Because people aren't playing the game to get into the cycle of getting more loot. They're just buying stuff and then plowing through the game with overpowered weapons, or I don't even know. They didn't really go into much detail about that, but it's just like they're like, we wanted the primary focus of Diablo to be playing the game and getting rewarded for beating monsters by getting loot, and that people are just buying stuff, and we don't like that, so we're going to shut it down.
Yeah.
Which is laudable. I think it's really laudable.
Yeah, especially something that they were making money off of. You know?
Well, I mean, it's not like Blizzard is really in, dire financial straits or anything. But
That's true.
But it's really interesting. I also didn't notice this, but I can't remember when this was announced. But they're also tweaking the loot system at Diablo.
Oh yeah, I didn't know that.
They went. It's called Loot 2.0, and they're specifically their big goal is to have have less garbage loot drops. Because they understand that those of us who have played Diablo, that's just like, my God, my inventory is just full of complete and total garbage. And it's profitable garbage. You're trying to save up for something. You still go back to town and you sell it off, but it breaks the game flow. So they want to make it so that instead of getting, like they had a number, they were talking about the number of default loot, the number of, rare and epic and that sort of thing. And they want in a time span for you to be getting more epic loot, more game-changing stuff that will require that you kind of juggle up the way that you're playing, and less just trash loot. And that's an update that's coming pretty soon, if not already out.
Nice.
They also have said that they've been working on some code that basically makes it so that you're not going to get dumb shit like a wizard hat with a strength boost on it. So they're going to try to keep it so that if it's dropping class-specific loot, it's putting stuff that plays into that class on the bonuses for that loot so that you're not picking up junk shit things that are stupid that you would never use,
Yeah, like, something for, if you're playing a monk and you pick up something for a witch doctor, it's disappointing.
Or if you're playing as a monk and you get something that really raises up, like, I think it's like what's the key stat for the witch doctor. If you're playing a monk, you get something that is hand wraps, but it has like an intelligence boost on it or whatever. And you're like, well, I don't need that. I need like dexterity boost or whatever. Yeah. So I don't know. Sounds good. And I wanted to bring it up because I was curious to know, we've seen a lot of microtransaction stuff and a lot of paying for equipment and things like that. And I'm curious about, Jason, do you think that this is... In the next generation of consoles, do you think we're just going to see a lot more of this, of just paying real money extra pay to win, essentially. I think
I don't
they call it
know.
from time to time.
I mean, it's big on phones, and you gotta think that it's going to make the transition over to consoles. Yes, you know what? Yeah, I think it's probably going to happen. It's going to take one moderate success if it hasn't already happened, and yeah, I think the complication with that is that if they're doing it on a console, Microsoft or Sony is going to want to cut.
Yeah, it's true.
And
Very
that
true.
probably turns off some publishers like, yeah, we're already giving you enough, so shut up.
I don't know. I've thought a lot about it, and I've decided that, like, for me, I like a lot of times the way that they'll integrate where they'll launch like a single player game, and then they'll have, like armor or upgrades or weapons that you can buy for real money on day one or whatever, that are, ridiculously overpowered or whatnot. And I think that's fine, because to me it's like, if you want to go break your game, if you want to spend $12 to fucking break this video game, be my guest. I'm not going to do it.
That's your prerogative.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I don't want to play with you,
I guess it's just weird to me, because I think about the way that World of Warcraft has, people sell stuff to each other in World of Warcraft, right? Like in all MMOs, people will, I need that, two-fisted double dildo of Fire Fury or whatever, and I don't want to grind for it, so I'm just going to pay some guy $2 and he's going to give it to me in the game or whatever. Like, that shit's been going on for years, but it hasn't broken MMOs. So I wonder if it's just by integrating it, by not making it some shady shit you got to do with some dude, who lives in Milwaukee. You can't tell whether he's going to just rip you off. Like, did they just make it too easy? Does it need to be harder in order to keep it from actually... Do you need to be de-incentivizing it to keep people from just breaking their game experience by using it?
I don't know. I mean, if that's what they want to do with their game, then fine. Let them.
Yeah.
Whatever. It's I don't know. I feel like as long as people are having a good time with it and getting their money's worth, then fine. Let them do whatever, as long as it's not messing with other people. Whereas, if you're doing like PvP or something, there ought to be a some sort of filter. There might be, I don't know, where you can say, do you want to play with someone who has used the auction house before? I'm going to say no.
Right.
Well,
I mean, yeah. All right, well, let's move on to our next story, and this is one that I put in here just so that you and I can do a little bitching. You ready to do a little bitching, Jason? I don't know how you feel about this. I've never brought it up, but Ubisoft has confirmed that on Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag and Watch Dogs, they will be bringing their wonderful, wonderful Uplay service to the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One.
Oh, man. You know when I used that? Never.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever used it.
Yeah. We're not going to spend a lot of time on this. I just kind of wanted to put it in there because, like...
What's the point?
Go fuck yourself, Ubisoft. I've never used Uplay before. I don't want to use it. I don't have any interest in using it. I feel like it's dumb. And, I just... I mean, I don't know.
Why? Why would you do that?
I feel like...
What does it get you?
I don't even really know at this point. Like, I think you can buy stuff through it. I mean, I the only time I've ever used it was in one of the Splinter Cell games. I think it was Splinter Cell Conviction. I was playing the game and it said, like, there was like an achievement thing, right, where it said, like, you've earned 800 Uplay points, and I'm like, all right, fuck off. And then later on, I went and I found out that there were a few things in the DLC store that you could buy specifically with the points that you had earned through this third-party service in the game. It was just, like, but I weep for that future that we have, where it's like you turn on the game and it's like you put Watch Dogs in your PlayStation 4, and it's like, all right, we need to install Uplay. We need to update Facebook because it uses Facebook. Do you want to turn on Twitter integration? We've got Netflix integration. We've got fucking Sony's friend integration. Do you want to see these replays from your just like shit getting in the way of playing my game? And I wish that on the consoles you could just pick one. Be like, I have an Xbox. I'm playing on Xbox Live. I just want to do this shit on Xbox Live.
Yeah.
I don't want anything else.
Why complicate it with more layers?
Yeah. And I don't know. This is actually one where I want to address specifically the 0 people that are listening to this and say, if you are a fan of Uplay, I want to know why. And I'm being legitimate here. I don't want to rag on you or tell you not to do it or, Jason call you names. I'm not going to call you names, but I'm honestly curious to know what it is that you see in the Uplay service that makes it worthwhile. Because I got no idea.
I don't understand it.
Yeah.
I really don't get it.
Yeah.
I mean, I maybe I should try it. Maybe it's going to be this groundbreaking thing. But it just seems like, I don't know, some little thing that they're going to use to be more invasive, to try to make us dependent on it, so that then they can start charging for it or some ridiculous shit.
I mean, I'm trying to figure out what you would use it for, what it could be useful for that there isn't already a thing in place that is useful. Like, add your Ubisoft friends through Uplay. Oh, no, I've got that functionality. Well, buy DLC. No, I have that functionality. Like, the only reason I can think of for them to put it in there is that it's just some gussied up DRM, making sure that I'm not ripping off Splinter Cell, and they've dressed it up so that it looks like something else, even though it's like, I'm looking at the Wikipedia page for it right now. Each Uplay-enabled game has 4 specific actions that can be accomplished, earning the player Uplay points, which are also referred to as units. Each action grants the player 5, 10, 15, 20, 30, or 40 units, which can then be used to unlock game-related rewards, though the units are not bound to the specific games they were earned in and may be used to purchase rewards from any available game. Yep, we've already got that. It's called an upgrade system, and I don't need an upgrade system that works over all of Ubisoft's games. Like, I don't need to. It's like, you know what, Jason, I'm going to go grind in Watch Dogs for a while so I can come back to Black Flag and unlock this new ship component that I need. Like, what kind of hellish nightmare future are we living in where we have to do that?
Yeah. And it's going to get even worse. They're going to just keep adding them. It's going to be like layer upon layer. It's like, well, you have to have. Now, to get to Ubisoft's thing, you have to have access to the internet. You have to pay for that. You have to pay for the game. Mm-hmm. You have to pay for your Xbox Live subscription if you're on Xbox.
Yep.
And then you have to pay for, eventually you'll have to pay for Uplay. And then you'll have to pay for whatever is on top of that, whatever they add. It's just a domino. It's an unending cascade of UI Matryoshka dolls.
You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to create a service, and we're going to take we're going to bump it up by 5%, right? So the entire world goes to subscription-based fees and different services and whatever. I'm going to go get some fucking smart, like whip-smart coding guys to just build a front end that literally does all this shit for you, that you just, that will handle all of your subscriptions and all of your DLCs and all of your games and interact with all these different services on your behalf, just so that you don't have to do it. And I'm going to take 5% off the top for paying, and I'm going to make $1 billion. It's going to be awesome.
Exactly. Just stop complicating everything.
Yeah. All right, we got 2 more stories here. One of them is really just for last, but this one isn't. So last week, Kevin and I waxed on at length about the Oculus Rift. You and I have as well. There's been this question out here, and actually somebody from the website emailed me and said, and I've been curious to know what your thoughts are about this, that they feel like one of the problems that the Oculus Rift has right now is that because your vision is
that I don't have one.
Well, we could fix that. They're shipping next month, and the dev kits are only $300. So, yeah. Or, if you want, I could just hold my cell phone up, and then you could put 2 of those things we could go to the optometrist and seal 2 of those lenses and put them over your eyes, and I'll just, hold up 2 cell phones. It'll be just like the Oculus Rift.
Yeah, that sounds great. That I'm sure that's really, really similar.
It's exactly what it's like. But one of the things that this person said was that they felt like the current, because your vision is obscured, the current control surfaces that we deal with are not going to be effective when it comes to the Oculus Rift. Because, if you've ever had to look at your controller, or if you have a keyboard you don't know how to touch type, or just putting that helmet on and then having to reach out and kind of fumble around to find the controller or your keyboard or whatever like that, that it might be an issue. And it's not really, I didn't find it when I was using it too much of an issue, just because all it was using was an Xbox 360 controller, and I'm pretty, once you put that thing in my hand, I'm used to holding it. It's not like I drop it or anything.
Yeah.
But there's this thing that I saw last week, and it's a Kickstarter for the 6-inch, I don't know if that's how you say it correctly, STEM, capital STEM system that came onto Kickstarter. So have you ever heard of the Razer Hydra, Jason?
That sounds familiar.
It's kind of like a PC kind of Wii control setup where you have these two paddles and it's got some motion sensing in it, so you can use it to kind of do your Wii motion type of stuff.
Okay.
So this company 6 Sense is doing this thing that's kind of like that, where it's called a STEM system, and it's a base unit that you set down that has a charging station. It's got this big block in the middle that is a receiver, and then it's got these two handles that you pick up. I'm going to send you a link just so you can see what I'm talking about. It's got these two paddles that you pick up that relay back to the base station, and each paddle has motion controls, like a gyro in it, but then it also has an analog stick and a bunch of buttons on where your thumb would normally be. And so this thing can handle two of these, and it also has a bunch of different sensors that you can hook onto like your clothing or whatever. And they're basically marketing it as a kind of an alternative control schema for an Oculus Rift that would allow you to like have a virtual hand or track your body in certain ways.
Okay.
And they have 22 days left to go on their Kickstarter, and they've almost doubled their Kickstarter goal of $250,000. They're at $500,000 right now. So what I really wanted to bring up about this is to know whether, do you think that we're going to need a new type of control for if we get into VR type of stuff?
No, I think VR is enough of an obstacle where they're going to focus on trying to make that work with the existing stuff. This seems like another step, and it might be a good idea that we do that, but I really think that first it's going to have to adapt to what's already out there. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It does talk like a pirate, Dave. But when we're recording this, by the way, when you actually look at this, you get the page up, right? Take a look at this thing.
Yeah.
What I do like about this, though, is the fact that what you're seeing on the thumb part of both of these handles pretty much adds up to our traditional controller, just split in half with two hands. So I kind of like the idea of having a control set where you can have all of your standard Xbox 360, PlayStation, what we've come, 2 analog sticks, 4 buttons, some triggers, start, select button, but then to also have these things so that if you were to lift your hand up, then you could have a second set of kind of motion controls that was seamlessly integrated to what we already have. Because you know what? It's been a while since we've added anything really crazy to the controllers. I mean,
well, you know how I feel about adding things to controllers.
Do I? I don't know if I do.
Stop it.
Stop
Just
it? Why?
Stop. There are too many goddamn buttons.
There's not too many goddamn buttons. There's not enough goddamn buttons.
There are too many buttons. It's alienating to people other than guys like you and I who play something every day.
Also, everybody that listens to this podcast.
Well, yeah, but still, that's still that's a small market.
Yeah,
there are too many buttons on controllers. Games are often too complicated. Whereas, I don't have a problem with it myself. Fine, great. All of the buttons on Diablo 3 were mapped to something eventually, and it was seamless. But you hand that to somebody who hasn't ever played anything, and it could be a problem. I don't know. I'm more for simplicity than continual evolving complications.
Well, this is, I don't know, like I said before, I just want to reiterate that I think the layout of this thing looks really smart, because instead of taking control options away, they're adding something that looks like it's more intuitive than, especially to people like us, to old fogies who don't want to change. All right, because I don't want to change. I want 2 new buttons on the new controller somewhere. I don't know where you'd put them. I mean, your hands pretty much, maybe pinky buttons at the bottom or something. But I like the fact that you could have this controller and you could be using it to play like a first-person game, but then you could also use it to interact with the world in a motion style, so that you could use that to augment your game experience instead of trying to emulate what we are all comfortable with some kind of wonky bullshit. So I don't know. I think this thing looks pretty cool, and you guys should totally check it out because it looks like it could be really smart. And I don't know. They're only $300, Jason. The dev kits are only $300.
Oh, that's really not much. But man, you want, I don't know. The first gen of Xbox One and PS4 are going to be glitchy enough. You want to take it back to dev kit and then have to deal with that shit?
Well, no,
it's like, get it right first.
It would only be on the PC. I mean, the dev kits only works on the PC.
I know. I was just using that as an example, though.
Yeah.
It's like you want to take something even farther back to make it even more complicated or more prone to errors and doesn't have all the kinks ironed out. Don't be an early adopter. Being an adopter before it ever comes out and get a dev kit. That just seems like a pain in the ass.
Oh, but I
want it to work. But I get it.
I want it. Like, this is the future in which we live, where, I mean, everything, like we've talked about this before, but you could buy alphas of video games right now, and I'm close to doing it for a number of different games because, like, the Clay's new game is this like 70s turn-based like super spy kind of Super Spies meet XCOM sort of game, and I just found out today that for $20 you can buy that shit right now. You get the game, the soundtrack, and it's in early alpha. It's not even in like alpha. It's like they got it working enough, and they're like, you could buy it if you want it. And me,
I love that tone. Well, you can buy it, if you want it. If you this car is like missing a tire. And it's got a bunch of rattlesnakes in the back seat. But if you want it, I mean,
yeah, I don't know. I never got on board. I was never on board with Minecraft, watching it evolve. So I've never actually done that with a game where you buy into the alpha and then you watch it kind of get better and better and better as time goes on. I don't know. It seems like it's a new thing, and it's starting to become like we don't have demos anymore. We have this early access stuff where they're just like, yeah, it's not out yet, so just do whatever. I don't know. So I don't know, kind of interesting. But our last story is it's a legit story, Jason, but it's a joke for us for some specific reason. So guess who's the new the new CEO of EA?
Who?
Andrew Wilson.
Sorry, not that one. Right?
Not that Andrew Wilson. But that was my joke. Is because when I first read this, I was like, I had this mental image of Andrew Wilson up on stage at E3, like at the EA press conference, introducing the new Mirror's Edge game or something like that, and it made me laugh. But yeah, Riccatello's gone. This new guy, Andrew Wilson, is now the CEO of EA, and he has this quote is actually pretty impressive at how little it actually says.
His soul escaped the Black Soul Stone.
Yes, exactly. There's just some guy in a cloak walking down the street with John Riccatello trying to bust out of his fucking chest and shit.
Yeah.
So let's see. I love this quote. It says nothing. Wilson lists 3 areas he'll focus on as CEO of EA. Continued transformation for our digital future, delivering amazing games and services across platforms, and instilling a culture of execution that will drive profitable growth. Like, that's not, I know what those words mean, and when you put them in that order, they just don't mean shit. He could have been like,
yeah.
Chocolate, vanilla, and strawberry, obviously. But dude's making $80K or $800,000 a year. I want to be a CEO.
Oh man, no kidding. Let's get on that.
I am a CEO. It's just my company doesn't make EA Sports games. Fuck.
Congratulations.
Yeah. And that's all the news that I've got for today. There were a few other things. I got to tell you, man, when I go running down news stories these days, every third news story is like, hey, this Kickstarter is up, or this Kickstarter hit its goal, or this Kickstarter hit this stretch goal, and I'm just like, oh, is this the world in which we live? Like, fuck, man, I miss big stories, miss big ass stories, man. All right, so we've got a few emails here. We're going to whip through them pretty fast. Let's see, we're almost an hour. And before we start, though, I'm going to say something, Jason.
Okay.
There is somebody who has been emailing me the same email like twice a week for the last 3 months.
Jesus.
I'm going to tell you, dude. I'm not going to name this guy because I don't want to, I don't want to mail shame him or I don't know what you call it. But like, we will answer your question if you stop sending it to me. And he's like, hey, I noticed that on episode 14 you didn't answer my question. Let me send it to you again. And like, if we're going to get to it, we'll get to it. And if we haven't gotten to it, there's probably a reason that we haven't gotten to it. But in your case, you send it to me all the time, and it's the exact same question every time, Jason. It's the exact same question.
Are we going to answer it?
No, we're not answering it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Once is enough, fuckers.
If you can, this guy, he's going to know who I'm talking to. If you could keep from sending me this question for a week from today, when this podcast comes up, I think it's going to be around Saturday, maybe Sunday. Well, when this podcast goes up, if you can not send me your question for 7 days, then we will answer it on the next podcast after that particular point. But if you send it to me again, I'm not answering it. All right. So our first question comes from Mama Afro, who is all over our website. And he says, good day, overlords of the select few. Long-term fans will know that you've often asked the gods above for a decent Robocop game. This gives me a convenient excuse to ask you, A, what are your thoughts on the new Robocop trailer? And B, if you finally got a brand spanking new Robocop game, but it was based off the new Robocop instead of Robo Classic, would you consider this a victory or a defeat? Yours sincerely, half man, half gamer, all rager, Mama Afro, OCP for life, bitch.
What was the last part again? Not the OCP for life, but the last part of the question.
B was, if you finally got a brand spanking new RoboCop game and it was based off of the new RoboCop instead of Robo Classic, would you consider this a victory or a defeat?
Fine, whatever. I mean, that's probably all we're going to see at this point, unless the movie horribly tanks. I saw the trailer. It looks interesting enough. I don't know. Whatever. It's got Michael Keaton in it. That's cool. We don't get to see him very often.
Yeah. The thing that just... and I don't like, I don't like even, I don't know. The thing that confuses me about this, it's the same thing that confused me about Total Recall. I've watched RoboCop like once a year or so for the last, my life. Every so often I'll just be like, hey, it's been a while since I've watched RoboCop, and I'll put out RoboCop and I'll turn it on. And yeah, some of the ED-209 special effects are a little bit dated, and, it's more of an 80s parody than a current parody, but like, it's not ridiculously outdated or unwatchable or not. I think that you could even show this to a current fan of movies and they would probably like it who hadn't already seen RoboCop.
Yeah, it holds up, and it's still, as time goes on, I think it becomes more and more clear that it was a satire.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But which a lot of people don't get. Which I hope that the new movie has that.
But it doesn't seem to, right? In the trailer, like, it doesn't seem like it has that same tongue-in-cheek tone. But it's. I had the same question in my mind when I saw they were remaking Total Recall, and it was like, why are you doing that? Like, I don't understand why you would even spend the money to remake this movie when there's still a perfectly decent version of the original. And like, from the track record that I've seen of remake movies, you've got like a 75% chance to fuck this up, and you got about a 20% chance to break even, and then you got about a 5% chance to make something that's way better than the original was. I don't know. Maybe they should have remade RoboCop 2 instead. Just leave RoboCop 1 alone.
Yeah, we're just gonna go straight to RoboCop 2. I don't know. It doesn't even have to be based on the movie. In fact, it's probably better that it's not.
Yeah.
Just make a RoboCop game. Yeah, that's all. Just make a new RoboCop game. It's been long enough.
The only one that was worthwhile was was it Data East or something?
It was like a side scroller thing.
Yeah, that was all right, but like every time since then, it's kind of been garbage. At least that I can remember. There's a PC game like 5 years ago or something that came out that was terrible.
There was.
Yeah, pretty bad. That was the one. No, that was more than 5 years ago. It was probably more like 10 years, maybe even longer. That was one of the ones where Alex Navarro over at GameSpot was like, I was going to review Robocop, but instead I'm going to tell you better ways to spend $50 than buying this shitty piece of shit game. And he's like, here's the collector's edition DVD set of Robocop. This costs $30, and you could still have money left over to get a pizza while you watch this, and that's a way better use of your time. I don't know, man. Like, I don't like to judge stuff before it comes out just because I like to see it, but so much of this stuff, it's just, I don't know. I mean, I look at that trailer and it was like, all right, I don't know. I miss Peter Weller. Like,
yeah. I'm like, okay. Yeah,
Plus,
sure, whatever.
You know, in the trailer, he already knows that he's a robot. He's all pissed off about it. And I'm like, that was kind of cool in the original Robocop, the way that that part of the story was about him kind of losing his humanity and then figuring out who he was and then kind of coming back and coming to grips with himself and that sort of thing. And it seems like they're playing that really early on. Plus, I'm going to look this up, but I'm pretty sure that I heard somewhere that there is no Clarence Boddicker in the new Robocop movie.
What?
Yeah, that like if you look at the cast list, that there isn't anybody listed on there as Clarence Boddicker, and I'm like, well, if that's the case, I just don't give a shit, man.
That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, I'm not seeing anything here. I can't tell. I mean, there's, Miguel Ferrer is in it. Maybe he could be the bad guy, but I don't see anybody here listed as Clarence Boddicker, and I also don't see anybody who is Murphy. Gary Oldman is Dr. Dennett Norton. Raymond Sellers. Where's fucking Dick Jones?
Dick Jones.
Oh, all right. Well, yeah. I guess I'll still watch it, but like, not when it comes out. That's for fucking sure. All right, our next question.
I'll catch it on, Netflix, maybe, eventually. I mean, it doesn't look bad, but it's not something I'm going to rush out and see, so I don't know.
I think I would be more interested in watching Dredd for like the 30th time than watching the new Robocop.
Yeah.
Because you talk about something that actually improved on, well, not the original, but, as far as the movie goes, that movie is fucking awesome. All right, the next question is from Brian, and Brian says, greetings, Jeff and Jason, Kevin, Grant, Loretta, whoever the hell is doing these podcasts now. I have 2.5 questions. Oh God, come on, man. Keep it short. All right, let's tackle these in order. 1, what is your favorite shameless game that confirms all of the negative stereotypes about video games in general? For example, mine would be Just Cause 2 because of its gleefully terrible voice acting, mindless violence, and nearly infinite amount of explosions. What do you think, Jason?
Saints Row 4.
Saints Row 4 is a good answer.
Yeah. I mean, that one is just one where it's like, we're not just going to embrace the crazy. We're going to devour it and regurgitate it into new weapons-grade levels of crazy.
Yeah, I don't think it's a stereotype about video games, but for stereotypes, Blood Dragon definitely up there.
Yes,
any game where you could shoot the double deuce at somebody after you kill them is classy in my book.
True.
Bulletstorm, you learn a lot from Bulletstorm.
Oh yeah,
brand new expletives. Maybe Postal 2. I don't know.
I don't know that I ever played that one.
You could pee on people in that game.
Oh, okay. When?
Yeah, you could shoot them, and then you could pee on them. And in fact, it's even got this mechanic where, like, it's like a first-person shooter. So you hit the P button, and the urine stream comes out, and you can move your camera around and write your name with it if you want or whatever.
Wow!
But if you point it straight up in the air, then he pees straight up in the air, and then it hits him in the face, and he goes. So yeah, you can take a gas can and you can create a big pool of gasoline on the street and then put a little trail back, and then when the marching band comes by, you can hit the trail of gasoline and set them all on fire, and they go running around and screaming and stuff like that.
Okay, that sounds like a win.
It was one of those games where whenever you heard Jack Thompson get his panties in a twist about GTA,
That's what he was talking about?
No, I'm like, yeah, GTA is fucking tame compared to this shit. All right, so part 2 is, over the years, physics engines for sand, hair, snow, and many other elements have been improved and enhanced so much that they're almost second nature. I don't know, I might argue with you about the hair thing, but however, there is one element to games that has never seemed right: water. There has yet to be a game that fully captures the rippling and natural behavior of good old H2O. So, what game has the best water physics that you played, not just in cutscenes? And when do you think we will see a game that exploits water in its main game mechanics? Thanks for reading, and as always, keep it fucking classy, Brian. So, I don't know. What do you think? When you think of good water, what comes to mind, Jason?
Oh, man. I'm trying to think of something really good, but yeah, nothing's coming to mind. I know there is one. I just can't think of it.
So, I mean, it's funny because this maybe speaks to the technology end of it, but the last two things that I can think of looking at the water and going, holy shit, that's impressive, was the naval combat in Assassin's Creed 3.
Oh, yeah.
With the way that the waves and stuff would kind of pitch your ship around. And then, strangely enough, GTA 5 has some really nice looking water. And when you have to go through it,
so far it looks all right. I'm not blown away by it, but it does look realistic, I guess.
I played a mission where you were on a jet ski, and they had a lot of like kind of wave trails and wake and stuff that tended to bounce you around like it did in water. So that was pretty cool to see. I think that, to be honest, the answer to his question about what game that exploits water in its main mechanics, it would probably be Black Flag. Which is probably going to be one where we're going to see a lot of water.
Yeah, they kind of have to get that right. It's like,
maybe,
no, well, don't worry about the water. We're not going to see it all that much. It's a pirate game, sir. Yeah, it's fine.
I don't really remember it, but it seems like it would also be kind of sacrilegious not to mention Wind Waker, right? Was there?
Don't even get me started on how much water I saw in fucking Wind Waker.
It was like that Open Water movie, but just with Link.
Oh yeah, it's like I was stuck out there with this mute elf kid.
All right. The other question, or the other thing, just to tell Brian real fast, is that setting a game on snow or in sand or that kind of stuff. It's just an environment where, when you're walking around in the sand, and it looks real nice and it's cool, and you're like, hey, that looks really cool. Water is a little bit harder because you can't just set a game on top of a bunch of water and then have your guy walk around on it. I mean, unless you're making like the Jesus game or something, right?
Yeah. They're going to make a Jesus walk on water game that plays like QWOP.
Fuck, man. Saints Row 4 didn't even have water. They were just like, dude, fuck it. It's just energy. It's the Matrix down there. Fuck you. Like, we're not even putting water in here. We're not even going to pretend. All right. The next question, actually 3 questions that I've got. No. I got one more. Fuck it. I'm just going to move this one over here. It's already started. The next 3 questions that we have, Jason, are more like administrative kind of questions that we haven't gotten asked in a while, so these should be pretty fast. But I thought that it would be nice just because I've seen a few people asking about this stuff out there. And I really just need to make the FAQ page on Rage Select a thing and write it. Do you want to write it?
No.
Nope. Just write some fan fiction for the FAQ page?
No. We can farm that shit out.
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe we should just get all the Fs from people. Or no, all the Qs, and then we can F them in the A. All right, this one's from Jericho717. Jericho717, I'm going to go through these pretty fast, and Jason, you chime in. Hey, guys, would you ever consider doing a Skyrim playthrough after you guys wrap up Undead Nightmare? And you guys can't use your favorite feline savior, but you could tell another epic adventure in the world of Skyrim, or at least explore Dawnguard and Battle Mirak and Dragonborn. Just a suggestion. Keep up the great work. We all appreciate... Guys, what I would say, keep up the great work, guys. We all appreciate all the hard work you put into the site, providing daily content for us, especially you, Jeff. Jason, stay classy, from Jericho717. Thank you, Jericho717. What I wanted to use this as was just a quick opportunity to kind of lay out, I think, what we would be looking for in a game to play on Sequential Saturday. That I think that, I mean, and Jason, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think Skyrim's just too big. Like,
yeah, I don't know. That's and plus, I think we're kind of done with Skyrim.
Yeah, I mean, when you talk about Skyrim or any kind of game like that, it's like take Fallout 3 for example, which we had briefly considered. Like, what do? Do you stick to the main storyline? Because you could beat Fallout 3 in like 4 hours if you just plow through the main story.
Right.
And then what do? Do you spend because you've got 4 hours in the main story and then 1 billion hours of everything else in the game. So it seems like what we need is a game that is open world but has character, but it's not super open world to the point where it's going to just take forever to do anything or to make any real headway in the game. I don't know. We've got a few things we've been rattling around, and we've heard a lot of you guys' suggestions. But Skyrim, this is a little much. That could be like asking you to play WoW. You know, how would you even do that? I don't know.
Oh, right. Yeah. Our next sequential Saturday will be of World of Warcraft. Oh, no.
That's right.
EverQuest 1.
Yeah. EverQuest 1. Oh, no. Dude, we should find... Oh, my God. I had a great idea. If we were going to do that, we should find... I wonder if anybody out there is running... if anybody out there has the code... I know they've had it out there for EverQuest before, but if anybody pulled down the server code for Star Wars Galaxies, we could start running our own Star Wars Galaxies server, and then we could just play Star Wars Galaxies. Have you ever played the story? I'm using quote fingers here, like the main story of Star Wars Galaxies.
You know, I played it a little bit when it first launched, and then I was just like, yeah, I'm done with this. No.
Oh, God, it's so boring. I worked on it for like a year. And, dude, guys at SOE, I love you and everything, but I didn't understand why people continue to play that game. I was just like, I know there's lightsabers and Ewoks, but fuck, man. Come on. All right, second in our quick question countdown here. Hi, guys. I'm Winchoid from the site. I'm a fan from the olden days. I'm loving how you're evolving and improving the site constantly. I have a quick question, but it's something I was curious about. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I noticed that when you play cross-platform titles, most of the time it's a 360 version. Never owned any type of Xbox, so I was wondering why. Is it controller preference, easier to get into the games, easier when making videos, or something else like that? Thanks for doing what you're doing. I will keep watching. Do you know the answer to this question, Jason?
No. Let me think on it. You first if you got something.
Okay. Well, no, I know the answer to this question. I was just,
No, go ahead.
Okay. So basically, you guys, I mean, when we first started doing this stuff, back in the old days, I was very much a hardcore PS3 advocate. But the PlayStation or the Xbox 360 has two things about it that literally nobody else in this world would ever fucking need, that are the reason that I tend to stick with it when we use it. One is that the Xbox 360 is smart enough to know when you have unplugged the HDMI cable and plugged in a component cable. You don't have to hold down the button. You don't have to reset the output. You could just unplug one cable and plug in the other one. And the Xbox is like, all right, I'm putting it over here now. Which back when we were capturing everything through component, it was a real pain in the ass on the PS3 because you had to go into these menus, then you had to switch the input, then you had to cut over to the other input real fast and hit the yes button because it was like 30 seconds or whatever. But more than that, the other thing about the Xbox that I really liked is the way that the Xbox handles account management, in that you could take your Xbox 360 profile with the save games, with anything, you could put it on a USB key, and then you could just pop that USB key out. Back when I was driving over to Jason's house all the time, you just take that, you can install a game on the key with your sign-in, then just take it over there, plug it in, boom, good to go. And I don't know, Jason, have you ever done a profile recovery on a PlayStation 3?
No. You know I haven't.
I know you haven't. It's pretty gross. I mean, it's like, and right now they have a thing where you can only have your login connected to like two different hardware, two different PlayStation 3s and like one Vita or something like that. I even got into a situation one day, I don't know if you remember this, where before they had it at 2, it's like 6 was the maximum that you could be logged into. And I used to be a promiscuous PlayStation whore. I would go over to
dirty slut.
I go over to anybody's house and log into their PlayStation. I'd be like, "Oh, we need the tracks I bought in Rock Band. I'll just log in and download them all." And then one day I was over at your house and we were trying to do something. I was trying to log in, and it was like, "You've reached the maximum number of times you can fucking skank it up with other people's PlayStations, bro." So I had to find the place on Sony's website where you reset it, you create the primary account again, and that kind of thing. And it's just a real pain in the ass as opposed to the Xbox. And it's one of the things on the new PlayStation that I hope they fix, because all that stuff is just way easier. But on the other hand, why would anybody ever need to do that except for me and you? Like,
right?
Who's taking their profiles all over the fucking place and putting them on other people's consoles? Like, yeah. All right, and finally, dear Jeff and companies, after watching the GTA 5 gameplay part 1, I wish the video was an hour long. What is the deal with the 30-minute limit?
Oh, come on. Nobody really wants to see an hour-long thing, and plus, it's exhausting. We can't do it that much.
Yeah.
it's really hard to stay on because unlike a lot of much to some people's dislike, you listening to this, most of you get it, but a lot of people think that some people think that we talk too much. Yeah. And that's our thing, just keep talking and make it entertaining. It's not about the gameplay, really. It's just having fun and everything. But that comes at a cost, and it wears us out. Yep. It was like after playing 3 in a row with Brushwood last night. Mm-hmm. Oh, it was just like we were spent. We were just spent. It was like we'd run a marathon. It's just really draining. But plus, most people don't watch even 30-minute videos, much less an hour.
Yeah, we've actually considered cutting it down to multiple 15-minute videos a day. Not even as okay, a little bit for traffic, just to get more hits, but also because in the internet day, Vines are a thing, Jason. 6-second videos are all the rage on the internet. Like people don't seem like they have a huge attention span. But the other thing, just to tell this person. And they didn't sign their name, so I'm not going to say it. But is that initially, when we first started doing this, there were technical limitations about why we had to have a hard stop directly at 30 minutes. And you will see now.
Oh, that's right. Yeah,
we're a lot more lackadaisical about if we need to, because mostly it has something to do with with sizes of videos and some stuff like that. But nowadays, we've had Red Deads that go on for 40 minutes. We've even had regular playthroughs where it's just like, I'm not stopping until we do X, and we'll go for 35 minutes or 37 minutes or whatever. But yeah, to be honest, like I a lot of times I wish maybe someday we can have a convention, we can have like a simulator where one of us gets in there with them. Like you put somebody up on stage in front of people and have them play a game and be like, whatever you do, you need to you have to keep talking. You must keep talking. It's exhausting. It is incredibly exhausting. In fact, one of the reasons that I've been kind of shy about live events is because the last time we did that, like when we were only together on camera a couple times, or together playing at the same time a couple times, because it would be like one person is playing, the other person is just sitting in a chair, like
yeah.
Trying to keep that shit together. People try to talk to you. You're like, don't talk to me. I got to save it. I got to save it for later.
Right. Yeah. Or we'll, before the show, we'll be talking about something. It's like, let's stop. We got to put this on the mic. Shut up. Don't talk to me about this.
Yeah. After like 4 or 5 videos, Jason and I will stop. We'll go to take a break. We'll just like stand there in silence, not looking at each other.
Sit there and just like, yeah.
Yep. Also, you would be amazed, my friend, when you record 30-minute blocks of unending dialogue with another human being, like in 2-hour stints, like once, maybe twice a week, how little the two of you have to talk about after like a month.
Yeah.
Like, you got all that shit out of the way.
Jeff will show up at the bar. I'm like, hey.
Yeah, we don't really even talk when we meet each other at the bar. Sometimes it's
I know.
Like, I've already fucking talked to you enough this week, motherfucker.
Yeah, we'll talk to everybody else, but it's like, yeah.
I keep waiting for somebody to be like, "Are you two? Is there a problem with you?" It's like, no. I talk to him all the time. All right, well, let's move on. We've got 4 more questions, and these should go pretty quick. First one is from Jazz, and Jazz says, "Hey, guys, I'm wondering when you think retro-style games will finally stop being a, quote, thing. I've been gaming since the 80s, and I'm all for nostalgia, but I'm a bit sick of it. Keep up the good work. Cheers, Jazz, a.k.a. a nappy nerd girl." What do you think, Jason?
I don't think it's ever going to happen.
Right?
Yeah, they're just going to change, Mm-hmm. Retro games are going to start looking like PS1 games soon.
Do you think that'll actually happen?
Yeah, I do.
Who thinks that's charming? If somebody out there, fucking primitive polygons at 640 by 480, who thinks that's charming looking?
There's going to be somebody.
You think so?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, because, PS1 wasn't our childhood. but there are people out there who it was. It's different for everyone. You know, they're going to be out there there are people now who, growing up, they thought, okay, I don't know, that fucking Angels in the Outfield or something was the greatest movie ever made. You know, and not the original one either.
Yeah.
You know, or it's like, or you know, I've got friends who are younger than us, and their seminal movie is Jurassic Park.
I don't get that, man.
Like and I'm like,
I don't get it.
But you've seen Jaws, right? And that's the thing. That was like their big theater experience. Whereas when I saw it, I was like, oh, that was really cool. I liked it. And that was it. You know, but for them, it was like one of those, you know, milestones.
Yeah.
And I think the same thing is with games.
Yeah, maybe so. I think, I don't know. I mean, I think we're already starting to see the end of it being a thing. I mean, I think it'll always be out there. It'll be like pick a fedoras, you know. Used to be that everybody wore fedoras. Now some people wear fedoras, but a lot of people don't because it's blah blah blah.
You got to be careful with the fedora because it was stylish for a while.
Yeah.
And sometimes you can get away with it if it's like retro or you look like you're trying to look like fucking George R. Martin or something. Like you're that weirdo at the comic book store with the transition lenses.
Yeah.
And the really large gut. Yeah. Don't be the nerd that wears the fedora. Fedora doesn't make you cool. Not everybody can get away with a fedora.
I didn't mean to send you off on this tangent.
It's a digression. I was just thinking of those fucking weirdos you see wearing fedoras, and you're like, dude, you're ruining it for all of us.
Yeah. Well, you know,
you look like you're going to sit here and talk to me about fucking Anne McCaffrey for an hour.
The thing for me is that I actually owned a fedora at one point in time, and people who weren't even my friends pointed out to me, they were like, you need to not wear that.
Not everybody can do it. Yeah.
Well, but here's the thing. I think you can do it. I think you can wear a fedora if you're wearing all the other things that people wore when fedoras were a thing. If you're wearing some suspenders and a vest and a tie and a suit and a jacket and some penny loafers and like you're smoking a Lucky Strike, then you could totally wear a fedora because it fits with the rest of it. It'd be like wearing a clown nose on Thursday just for the shit of it. You'd be like, don't take that off.
What were we talking about again?
Retro style games.
Yeah.
I'm already kind of getting there in that when I start looking through the news for news stories, I keep seeing this like, here's another Kickstarter for a 16-bit Metroidvania. Here's another Kickstarter for a 16-bit Metroid. Here's another Metroidvania game. And I'm like, I love Metroidvania games, but like maybe put some of these Metroidvania games out and let me play them first instead of just kickstarting a billion of them.
Yeah, I just, I don't know. It has zero charm for me anymore.
Yeah.
None whatsoever. I see a retro-looking game, I'm like, great, okay.
I could tell you, though, definitely, Jazz, that one of the reasons that people do it, though, is because of how prolific that art style was back in the old days. It's fairly simple, and it's got a lot of the kinks have already been worked out about how to draw like that. So you can find a lot of guides online that will teach you how to essentially translate your own art into that style. And it's fairly simple, and it gives you, I mean, I don't know, I guess it used to make you stand out. I don't really think it does anymore, though. But it'll go away eventually, and then we'll find some new shit. And from there, yeah, who can say? I honestly don't, I can't see the crappy PS1 graphics being the new throwback thing. I don't know.
Yeah, you might be right. I know, but it's like, you know, a lot of people say, why would you go back to 16-bit? You know, it's, I don't know. It's maybe there is an inherent charm in one that's not in the other, but maybe it's not just time. Yeah. Who knows? But yeah, I don't care what it is. I'm done with retro graphics.
Yeah. Well, okay. Let's see. This next one is from Chris, and Chris says, good afternoon, gentlemen. Longtime listener and patron. Hey, thanks, man. You're part of the solution. First-time messenger, cocaine princess for life.
Oh.
The legendary Mark Twain once said, "Censorship is telling a man he can't have a steak just because a baby can't chew it." With that in mind, what is your opinion on the current state of censorship in video games? Do you feel that our current rating model with the ESRB from early childhood to AO is sufficient, or is there more room to grow? Lastly, is there any theme or subject that you personally feel can never be explored in games because it may be too inflammatory, precarious, etc.? Thank you for taking the time to read my email, and as always, keep it fucking classy, Chris.
I am completely for wholly unfettered free speech, and I don't think I think there's some self-censorship going on, and I don't think the ESRB is a part of that. I think the self-censorship is probably what people do for in their best interest, in the interest of business, because they don't want to do anything ridiculous. GTA 5 gets away with a lot of stuff that was very controversial in San Andreas. Now they're taking that to the next level. Mm-hmm. And I don't want to spoil it, but you probably know what I'm talking about. There's a lot of stuff in there where it's like, wow, this was all over the news just 10 years ago or whatever. But I think we should be able to make any type of video game you want. You could. I think you should say whatever you want. But it's also everyone else's prerogative to say, yeah, you know what? Jason used his freedom of speech and proved that he's an asshole. So fuck him. I think people should be able to do that. It's like, yeah, you should have the ability to say whatever you want, but have the good sense not to say whatever you want. So I think our current rating system is working just fine. And that ties into the whole how do violent or profane video games influence people? Well, you know what? Don't be a fucking idiot. They don't.
If violent video games turned people into completely fucked up psychopathic murderers, I just got done not sleeping very much and playing a good 12 to 14 hours of GTA 5 almost continuously. I should be eating babies right now. I should be freehand eating babies right now.
Precisely. And I grew up watching almost exclusively violent horror movies. Yep. It's still pretty much mostly what I watch, what I read, and play a lot of violent video games.
The main thing
I've been acquitted on all counts that I've been brought up on.
I don't know. I've been seeing some of this come up a lot, and I think I finally thought about it enough that I've kind of come to a decision about kind of how I feel about this in video games. Is that it seems to me, and I'm sure that this is pretty obvious to everybody, so everybody just be like, yeah, Jeff, we know, shut up. But I'm not going to because it's my show, and I can say what I want. That video games are the current witch, right?
Yeah,
they're the new thing.
Yeah,
and they're young enough, and we haven't been through this. Even though those of us that have two brain cells rubbed together can say we've already been through this argument with fucking movies and lewd books and D&D and Harry Potter and you pick it, and we've
comic
been through
books, rock and roll.
Yep. But it's just that one is that it's a young enough medium that we can have this argument all over again. And to be honest, I don't really give a shit what anybody says because, as Kevin said last time, we're past the point of no return. Nobody's going to take your games away, first of all. Second of all, if GTA 5 made $800 million, they could outlaw violent video games, and there would be a thriving underground market for violent video games that we would all, that the police would look the other way because they're like, I'm not going to handcuff a guy for buying Grand Theft Auto 6. And three, and this is the one that I feel is more important than anything else, I think the reason that this shit keeps going on, Jason, is because gamers react. And I don't know what it is, and I'm not trying to paint all gamers with a broad brush, but if somebody came out there, you see these arguments where people are like, oh, Grand Theft Auto 5, it's so vulgar and it's so obscene and it's hateful. It's hateful to, I don't know, pick one, women, children, everybody. It's hateful to everybody. It's a terrible piece of crap, and nobody should play it at all times. The thing is that if somebody said that exact same thing about Machete 2, the people who are fans of cheesy action movies, they wouldn't be on the internet like you just taken away their favorite toy and burned it. They wouldn't be out there just like, fuck your mom, I hope you burn in hell and you get raped by anteaters or blah, blah, blah. They wouldn't be so vocal and upset about it. They'd just be like, well, that person's I'm going to go watch Machete 2. But when somebody says something about, Grand Theft Auto or a video game, gamers get really upset. And I'm starting to think that it would be in all of our better interest to just be like, you guys are full of shit and we're just not going to take you seriously. Because that's what happened with Jack Thompson, right?
Yeah.
Nobody was really taking him seriously, and finally he got disbarred and he fucked off. And now nobody knows who Jack Thompson is anymore. Just like you said, GTA 5 has things that he specifically ranted about when GTA 3 and San Andreas was out.
Yeah, it's... God, it's just... There are always these puritanical people trying to legislate morality, and everything is fine. This is one of the few areas where we still have freedoms. So let's keep that like it is.
What I would say is that if a personality or a reviewer, in some cases, if a developer or somebody makes an inflammatory remark about a game that you like, ignore. I mean, well, you can. Okay, if like a politician starts running on a platform of, I'm going to take all M-rated games, we're going to make it illegal to sell M-rated games in Nebraska from here on out. Okay, maybe at that point, go out and do some lobbying or try to join a political activism group or whatever. But if somebody says something mean about a game that you like, maybe don't say that they should get like sexually abused or thrown in a fire or murdered or something.
Yeah, don't do that, because that's just kind of proving them right.
Right, exactly. Then we all just look bad because you're that pissed off. The easier thing is just to say, who cares? Like, there's been some stories about, like I said, people saying bad things about GTA 5. Do you think anybody at Rockstar gives a shit what anybody says about GTA 5? $800 million. Nobody gives a shit.
Yeah. It's like, oh, really? Thank you. I'm going to continue rolling around in this pile of money.
Right, exactly. And I'm not saying that you can't, that there aren't things about games that you don't want to discuss or change or whatever, but, do it in a way that isn't confrontational and don't even be snarky about it. Just be polite. And then when the person tells you that you should be set on fire, then you just realize you don't need to talk to them anymore. So, all right. 2 more here. One, these are both pretty easy questions. Jason, I'm going to let you field this one. You were on a roll here. Hey there, Jason and Jeff. Paradise Kitten and Lesaren here. We are longtime listeners and our first time writing. My boyfriend and I have done something terrible. We've unleashed something we can't stop. We recently purchased Minecraft, and we need your help. We can't stop. We see blocks everywhere. How do you stop it? I just tried to redecorate my room by punching walls into blocks. My boyfriend tried punching a cow to death. How do you stop it? While you're pondering on that, though, we love the show. Never stop being funny and crazy bastards that we know and love. Paradise Kitten and Lesaren. So I've pretty much gone through the looking glass with gaming addiction to the point where if you roll your ADD into the gaming addiction, then you can be incredibly addicted, but only for like 2 days before you're like, all right, now I'm fucking done with this shit. But
yeah.
How did you break it?
There are worse things to be addicted to, right? Yeah. And I get it. So, yeah, just embrace it. Build some sort of ridiculous monstrosity. Go for it. It's a good time, and it stokes your creativity. It's fun. It's harmless. It's not one of those violent video games that everyone's worried about.
You came out, you punch that sheep right in the face until it died.
But that's the circle of life.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is that the circle of life?
Yeah, it is, totally, because you get wool from it. You get things you can use from it. As long as, the original Native Americans, they used every part of the sheep in Minecraft.
Every part of the pixel sheep?
Every part of the pixel. They used every pixel of the sheep. So, yeah, just embrace it. and you'll come out the other side. I haven't played it in a long time. It just kind of, faded away because other things come along. But don't fight it. Just give in. Give in and just get your blocky rocks off.
Just lean into it. It'll be over in no time.
Mm-hmm.
All right, I got one last email here. And I'm not going to identify who sent this email, but I like it. It's a question that I feel like we all ask it from time to time. And I'm going to read it as in its entirety because there is no dear, blah, 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 blah. This is our last question. All right, Jason, you ready?
Ready.
When's the last new PS3, Xbox 360 game to come out so I know when to buy the PS4? Thanks, stay classy. Ba-boom!
Shit, man, I don't know.
Yeah, that's the thing. Dude, PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360 development is going to go on for another at least probably 2 years.
Yeah.
Maybe 3.
Because there's still going to be lots of people out there who don't have the new ones, and so they're going to be squeezing everything they can out of it.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to, as we said before, we're going to be slipping into a generation where look at go to Watch Dogs, right, and look at the box of, or I guess it's not out yet, but imagine, if you will, the bottom of the box for Watch Dogs, or the bottom of the ad for Watch Dogs, where it's going to say this game is coming out for the PS3, the PS4, the Xbox 360, the Xbox One, and the PC. I think it's a PC, but you're going to see this shit for a while. You're going to see games coming out for all these consoles, and you're going to read stories. God, Jason, are you ready? Are you ready for it again? Like, here's the fucking side-by-side video comparison of what it looks like on the PlayStation versus...
I don't know. That'll be interesting for a little while.
Oh, God. Pixel counting, pixel hunters out there. And I don't know. Maybe that won't happen this time, but... It'll be like that for a while. So yeah, don't fight it. Don't rush it, my friend. If you are going to wait until the last PS3 game comes out to buy the Xbox 360,
don't do that.
Let's do a little experiment here. Let's find out what the last PS2 game was. Because I'll tell you what, no matter what the last game was, EA keeps putting Madden out on that platform until like the bitterest of bitter ends.
Yeah.
Okay, so PlayStation 3 launched in United States November 17th of 2006. The last PS2 game was... I'm just going off the first link I could find here. Wait. It was confirmed.
Come on, Jeff.
I think it's FIFA 14. That doesn't sound right, though, does it? Is that coming out this year?
Yeah. So sorry, buddy. You need to put that PS3 back in the closet.
Oh, my God. No, it is.
For
Holy
the PS2?
Shit. Okay, wait a minute. Okay, I'm looking at the date. September. Fuck. Holy shit on toast. This is the Wikipedia page for FIFA 14 says platforms. Android, iOS, 3DS, PlayStation 2, PlayStation 3, PlayStation 4, PlayStation Portable, the PSP, PlayStation Vita, the Wii, Windows, Xbox 360, and Xbox One. And it says that they're releasing in North America September 24th of 2013. That means that there's probably still PlayStation 2 games coming out. I thought the last one...
dear listener... Take all of your current gen systems and put them back in the closet. And go back to the previous one.
What was the name of that? What was the name of that? Was it Level 5 game? That came out for the PlayStation 2. Like, I remember God of War. There's a God of War game that came out real late in their thing, but there was Rogue Galaxy. Was that it?
Hell if I know, man.
Yeah, that was one of the last ones that I remember, and that was 2005. No, that was not right. Okay, I don't remember. But yeah, the answer is don't wait for there not to be any more games on the platform. Like, at some point, you're just going to have to make the jump and, because to wait, you will be literally doing this shit forever. And that's it. That's the show.
We have one more thing we should mention.
Oh, what should we mention?
Today, Hiroshi Yamauchi passed away. He was 85 years old.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Yes. The guy that led Nintendo for like 50 years.
Mm-hmm.
I think that definitely merits mentioning. So
yeah, I think didn't he hire Miyamoto and put him in charge of
I believe so.
Nintendo division. I'm not super familiar with all the stuff that this particular gentleman did, but from what I've the little that I've seen, it looks like he was very much had a hand to get the original Famicom out. Which,
yeah, he was the dude, man. I mean, this guy had. If you're listening to this guy really probably influenced a good portion of what you're experiencing today. And hell, without him, maybe the game market would never have recovered from the collapse in the early 80s.
Yeah, I'd be like an investment banker, and you could be like a professional assassin or something like that.
Oh,
we wouldn't even be doing this job.
Now that you put it like that, fuck him.
No, it's like I said, I don't really know all that much. I don't really know a super hell of a lot about this guy, but I mean, it's definitely. It's obvious that he had an incredible impact on this entire industry, and yeah, just like you said, we wouldn't even be here if it wasn't for him. So
yeah, raise a glass of scotch to what is it, Yamauchi-san?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yamauchi.
Oh yeah, that sounds much better.
Mm-hmm. So yes, all right. Well, that is it. Unless Jason, you got anything else?
That's it.
All right.
That's all I got.
That's it for the show. Of course, we can't do this show without your questions. So send your questions to mail@rageselect.com. 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 And send us in your questions. Except for you, dude. You know who you are.
You know who you are.
Send me those questions over and over again. You don't send me any questions. And if you do it for 7 days, I swear, I'll put it on there. Put the question on the air. Just, God damn, man. So yeah, I think that we're done, and now we can all go back and play some more Grand Theft Auto 5.
Yep, gotta go. Bye.
All right, Jason, see you.